viewers, welcome to the second recording. And in this recording, I am going to talk about this topic, conceptual and associative meaning. Before I start, I'd like to attract your attention to something that is. Now, the book is this book, George Joel, The Study of Language, 5th edition. And yesterday, when I mentioned the page number 96, I mean in this book, George Joel, which I told you about before the coronavirus disease. This is the first point. The second point, which I'd like to attract your attention to, is yesterday I said I gave this example. ضرب الرجل ابنه لأنه كان مخمورا. And I want to correct something here. ضرب الرجل ابنه, I was talking about this ha. It is not this ha, but it is this لأنه ha. This ha it refers either to the son or it refers to the man as drunken or being drunken. So I mean this here, the al-ha here might refer to the son who was drunken, or to the father, or to the man who was drunken. This is just a point which I want to correct. Now today we are going to start with with what? With, as you can see here, conceptual and associative meaning. We deal with meaning. Okay, yesterday we were dealing with syntax. Today we are dealing with semantics. Now you find this information, conceptual and associative meaning, you find it on page 110. Okay, right. Now, what do we mean by conceptual meaning? Now, as I told you, that if you want to have an idea about any topic in the book, you can go to the glossary. Okay. Now, in the glossary gives you a definition of what of the topics which are discussed in this book, in the body of this book. Now, let us first of all start with the definition of what of conceptual meaning. Now, what do we mean by conceptual meaning? See, we are dealing with meaning here. Conceptual meaning, as mentioned here, means the basic components. Conceptual meaning means the basic component. The basic component Now, as you can see here, I have just made an acronym of the word conceptual meaning. I took the letter C and the letter M, so I have acronym here. The C stands for conceptual and the M stands for meaning. Here also, A means associative, M means meaning. Right. Now, what do we mean by conceptual meaning? The definition of conceptual meaning is the basic component. It means this: the basic components of meaning. The basic components of meaning conveyed by the literal use of words. The basic components of meaning. It seems to be from this definition that there are basic components of meaning conveyed by the literal use of words. Literal use. By the literal use, we mean, or it is meant, the meaning which is given by the dictionary. Let me say the lexical meaning. Okay? The lexical meaning. The meaning which is conveyed by the literal use of the words. Now, where do we find this type of meaning? You find it in dictionaries. The dictionary gives you what? It gives you what we call conceptual meaning. Every one of us has a conceptual meaning of any word. Why? Because it is in the dictionary. Okay? It is in the dictionary. Right. For example, if we take the word needle, let's take the word needle, for example. The word needle, this is the word needle, for example, needle, Neddle-E. Now, what is the conceptual meaning of the word needle? Here, or the basic components of the basic components of the word, the meaning of the word needle, the basic components. The basic components includes this information, like first of all, thin. When we mention the word needle, this thin, the word thin, Thin, right? Thin. We know that the needle is thin, not thick. This is, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. Why? Because it is in the dictionary, right? The second thing, the second basic component of the word needle, the conceptual meaning of the word needle is what? It is sharp, S-H-A-R-P. This is the second component of the conceptual meaning of what? Of the word needle. Now what else? Steel. It is made of steel. Steel. And it is instrument. Steel instrument. And right. Okay? So now this this information, or this like thin or sharp or steel instrument, this information, we call it the basic components of the literal meaning or the conceptual meaning of the word needle. Every one of us has this information about the word needle, that it is thin, that it is sharp, and that it is what? It is steel instrument. It is made of steel. Okay, right. So this is the first type of meaning. What do we call it? We call it what? We call it conceptual what? Conceptual meaning, or we call it what? Literal meaning. And where do you find this type of meaning? You find it in the dictionary. Right. Later on, I'll talk about the benefit or the benefit or the use. What is the benefit of knowing the basic or the conceptual meaning, or these elements of that constitute the conceptual meaning. Now, let me, before I move to the second type of meaning, and that is associative meaning. You see, I would like to go back to this, these basic components of the literal meaning, المعنى الحرفي أو المعنى القاموسي أو lexical meaning. This is what we mean, lexical meaning. Because you have a dictionary, and I have a dictionary, and everyone of us has a dictionary. So the meaning of this, the word needle, is what is mentioned in the dictionary. Okay, right. So what do we call this? We call it conceptual meaning. We can call it also the literal meaning, المعنى الحرفي, المعنى القاموسي. Where do you find it? You find it what? In the dictionary. Right. Now let's move to the second type of meaning, which is what we call this type of meaning. What is it? Associative meaning. Associative meaning. Now, what do we mean by associative meaning? Now, يعني المعنى الذي تقرن معه things that are not in the literal meaning. And what does this mean? Here, let me take the definition. Because the type of meaning that people might connect. See, the type that people, see, very important, that the people might connect with the use of word. Example, I'm now going to the examples. I repeat myself. This the type of meaning that people see here. We are talking about people. Earlier we were talking about the dictionary. Now this type of people is associated, is suggested by the people. The people who associate what this type of meaning to the what to the word in question. For example, just now I said that the basic components of the word needle includes thin, sharp, steel instrument. Here, needle is not used in this sense. No, it is used in the sense of what? Painful, for example. Painful. Blood. Okay? Illness. Drugs. Painful, drugs, blood, illness, pain. Okay, pain. This information or these things are not found in the dictionary. They are found in rhetorical speech, in figurative language, the language which is, for example, used by a poet, a literary man. They suggest these things. In addition to this, you see, to this, these associations, هاي الاقترانات يعني, we have a very well-known proverb or saying which says that looking for something is just like looking for a needle in a haystack. شوف لاحظ هنا البحث عن شيء كما تبحث عن إبرة في كومة من القش. How are you going to find it? It means it is very difficult. This information, هذا information, you do not find it where in the conceptual meaning, the meaning which is suggested by the dictionary. No, it is this type of meaning is suggested by the people who suggest this type of meaning. Right. So now, what do we call these? Like, for example, illness, blood, drugs. How do we knitting? Also, the word knitting, K-N-I-T-T-I-N-G, because when we knit, we use what? Needle, etc., etc. Now, what do we call these things? We call them connotations. Okay. Now, I can now put the distinction now. There is a distinction now between conceptual meaning and associative meaning. Now, conceptual meaning is what we call the denotation of the word. The denotation, what the word means in the dictionary. But the second type is what we call, we call it connotation. So we have denotation and we have what? Connotation. Denotation means the conceptual meaning, whereas connotations means the associative meaning, things that we associate with the meaning of the word, which are not in the dictionary. Continue with the distinction between conceptual meaning and associative meaning. Here we can make use of this, these two terms, denotation and connotation. Denotation, the literal meaning of the word, the meaning which we find in the dictionary, and it is almost fixed, the fixed meaning. Fixed meaning. It doesn't change. When we go to the dictionary, for example, which was published, say, for example, 100 years back, and a dictionary nowadays which talks about the denotational meaning of the word needle, definitely it is going to give me this information: thin, sharp, and steel instrument. This is agreed upon. But there is another type, and that is associative meaning, or the connotation meaning of the word. This is not like the denotational. This is, I do not find it where in the dictionary. No, it is by people. For example, now, and by the way, this is different from some people to other people, from one person perhaps to another person. Now, See, for example, when we mention the word Basra, when we mention the word Basra, the literal meaning to word Basra is a province in Iraq, in the south of Iraq, and it is people know it because it is famous for oil. There is a lot of oil in Basra. This is maybe the meaning of Basra in the dictionary, but there are connotations or associative meanings with the word Basra. Basra means it is the province of As-Sayyab. Basra is the city of Shatt al-Arab, for example. These things which are associated. Basra is also the province of dates. Basra also, it is famous for that its people are good-hearted people, for example. Now these meanings are not for mentioned, say, in the denotational mean or the denotational meaning of the word Basra. These things are not what mentioned. Where do we find such things? We find it in the connotational meaning, which is, as I said, it is different from one person what to another. So now we have two types of meaning: conceptual meaning, associative meaning. Conceptual meaning is the meaning which we find it in the dictionary, and it is agreed upon. Everyone knows it. Whereas the connotational meaning, no, it is not known by everyone. No. Maybe I know it, somebody else doesn't know it. A poet, for example, a poet, maybe he knows the connotational or the connotational meaning of the word Basra to As-Sayyab. Maybe it is different from the connotational meaning of the word Basra to a layman who is not a poet like As-Sayyab, or a foreigner who lived in Basra, etc., etc. These things. Okay, now let me give you an example of the word innocent and how the word innocent has a conceptual meaning and it has a associative meaning. Or let me say, or put it another way of saying it, innocent, the denotational meaning of the word innocent and the connotational meaning of the word innocent. See here, innocent means free or free from guilt or wrongdoing. This is the conceptual meaning. Free from, يعني بريء. See the sentence, the example, the court said that she was innocent. This is the literal meaning, the conceptual meaning of the word was innocent. But there is another meaning which is not this meaning. There's another meaning suggested by the people, not by the dictionary. This is, you find it in the dictionary. But see the example here and how the meaning is almost different from the first one. See in this example, what does she know? She is so innocent. Here, innocent, not in the sense of free from guilt. No, it means naive. It means simple. It means good-hearted. People, yes, such things. Now, these things, maybe it is not known, or maybe it is not accepted by everyone. Yeah. So see maybe somebody says innocent. No, it doesn't have this meaning. As I said before, that people may differ towards what the connotational meaning of the word, but people never differ towards what the denotational meaning. Why? Because it is the literal meaning, the meaning which is suggested by the dictionary. When we disagree, we go to the dictionary and the dictionary will solve the disagreement. Okay. Now, for example, here when I say the word innocent, معناتها بريء برأت المحكمة، معني خالي من الذنوب، ما عم يرتكب ذنب. Here the meaning معناتها بسيط، يعني متواضع، طيب القلب. These meanings. Okay, right. Okay, now before I close down, before I finish this video, there is something here. What is it? Now look at the sentence, the hamburger ate the boy. This sentence, syntactically, it is okay, acceptable, but semantically it is odd. Semantically it is odd, shadh. Syntactically, here MP, verb, VP, and what? And another MP. This is okay. Grammatically it's correct. But when we come to the semantic meaning of this word, we say that this word is odd sentence. Why is it odd? You see, because it is odd because of the conceptual meaning of the words that have been used. Take, for example, the word hamburger and the word boy. Now, the hamburger, and see the verb ate. Now, the hamburger, the conceptual meaning, the conceptual meaning of the word hamburger, it is a type of food. Then and the boy, it is the boy who eats the hamburger. The hamburger cannot eat the boy. See, this is, how do we know that? Why is it odd? It is odd because of the conceptual meaning of the word what? Hamburger. So now the benefit of, or why should we know conceptual meaning? Conceptual meaning also, it helps to avoid uttering or using odd, semantically odd sentences. Semantically odd sentences. Odd. This is odd. Why? Because hamburger, when you go to the dictionary, the hamburger cannot eat. The hamburger is eaten. The boy cannot be eaten by the hamburger. It is the boy who eats what? The hamburger. So because so now the benefit of what? Of the conceptual meaning is that it helps us to avoid producing or using what? Odd sentences such as this. Another sentence, for example, when you say the horse is reading, for example, the horse is reading. We do not expect such as this sentence grammatically, just like this sentence, it's grammatically, syntactically, it is correct. Now, the horse is reading, the horse is the subject, and is reading is the verb, because the verb reading can be that can take what? An object, and it is enough. It's a complete sentence, this. Okay? Complete sentence when say the horse is reading. This sentence, syntactically it's correct, but semantically it is what? Semantically it is odd. Why? Because when you go to the dictionary, you find the definition of the dictionary of the word horse. It is a large, strong animal that people ride and use for pulling heavy things. Now see, this is the meaning. This is the meaning of the word horse. So a horse cannot read, because we know that only human beings can read. Okay? So now I finished this video saying that knowing the conceptual meaning, first of all, it is the meaning you find it in the dictionary, and it is the literal meaning. The meaning is that it is known by everyone. The second type of meaning is the associative meaning, the meaning which people have, and it differs from one person to another. The third point is this point. Now, knowing the conceptual meaning help you to avoid such sentences. We call them semantically odd. Syntactically correct, but semantically odd. Why? Because it is not possible for the hamburger to eat what? The boy. And it is not possible for the horse is reading. Why? Because the conceptual meaning of the word horse and the conceptual meaning of the word hamburger prevent us from using what such sentences. Okay, I stop here, and this information you find it as it is written here on page 110 in your textbook, beside the very brief definition of the word conceptual meaning, associative meaning, which you find it where in the glossary. Thank you very much.